Ladies and gentlemen, you have waited all week.
Yeah, Boogie Page. Throwing it down for All Things BMX is ready. I know I am. Let's hack the ATB Airways. Let's kick it. All Things BMX. It's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. Like and subscribe, kick back and relax. Said it's All Things BMX. It's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. So like and subscribe, kick back and relax. All Things BMX is streaming to you. So post up on your couch, screencast to YouTube. It's gonna be fun, it will be a blast. You gotta do much but kick back and relax. They coming to you live from a studio, or they might be at the track, man, you never know. So don't go anywhere when my rhymes are done, cause the show's just starting, let's have some fun. I said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. So like and subscribe, kick back and relax. I said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. So like and subscribe, kick back and relax. All Things BMX got the boogeyman's back, so I wrote them this track to send some love back. JT, Melissa, Chris, and Paul did it, them and kinda get it, entertain y'all. And I wonder who they'll have on the show as a guest. I bet someone good who's gonna impress. Guess I would just have to wait and see. Let's get the show going and start the party. Said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. Like and subscribe, kick back and relax. Said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. Like and subscribe, kick back and relax.
Welcome to episode 189. We're talking gear work this evening. We got George with us from the Rennen Design Group, co-host of the RT Podcast and F1 SuperFan. It's also Billy from Gate 9's birthday. We're not supposed to talk about it, but we just did. Oh, happy birthday, Billy.
Happy birthday, Billy.
The ATB crew is coming to you live from the Ethan Clark Studios here in the busy metropolis of Heartland, Michigan. Chris and I are at the Dye Job Apparel news desk, where we have absolutely no news other than it's Billy's birthday. Melissa's off tonight. She's not feeling the greatest, but back at her producer's perch, filling in at the Gate 9 custom number plate birthday boy patio. Detroit Velvet Smooth hanging out tonight. I don't think you can add more in there. Like I thought I might have another spot to put another piece of merchandise up there, but it's pretty packed back there. Danger Snack brings our guest this week. Danger Snack is the snack that's the difference between Dragon Ass or Holland Ass. We had some people try this new flavor this weekend down at Ray's, and it was
blood orange.
It was a hit. And the show's chat is sponsored by our good friends over at BMX Rocks Photography. Tonight's question. It's a teaser for next week's guest, by the way. What's your favorite indoor track, past or present? You guys get that up, put it in the chat, put it on social media. Tonight's Lightning Round is brought to you by 110 Nutrition. When ordering, make sure you guys use our discount code, All Things BMX, for 10% off. And our show doesn't happen without the support of the following companies: Ghetto Wear, The Hack Shack, DB Sports, Mega Design Group. You guys also, if you missed any of the companies here, we're going to have the links in the chat, and we'll also have them in the show description. It's about that time, Chris.
Yeah. All right. So welcome in, George. Thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So I guess we'll just start right out. How has BMX been treating you lately?
Oh, well, since Grands, we just, trying to tie up year-end orders and get stocked up there was a little bit of a lull, I think, over the holidays and stuff, but literally last week, I think every major mail order distributor, all of our dealers, like they all placed orders at the same time. So now we're like jam packed and
now you got
fully backed up again.
Time to get going, eh?
Yeah, well, we took the downtime to stock up the shelves. So luckily we sent a couple of hundred things to anodize this week. So,
great.
We should be starting to deliver a lot of stuff real soon here, but we got a pretty dialed process for the most part. We can ramp it up or scale back at will. So
Oh, that's awesome. So do you hold material on your floor, or do you have suppliers that release that as you need it, or how's that go for you?
Well, I used to just order material almost on demand as we needed it. And lately, because of material pricing, because it's been outrageous the last few years, the amount that it's gone up,
Yeah.
I've had to make very large purchases that I never had to do before. So we're carrying a lot of material right now in just raw form on the floor ready, but we don't process it right away unless we have orders or we're trying to put something on the shelf. So
Yeah, gotta get that quantity discount.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. All right. So, what's your biggest seller? I would assume it's the gearing.
Yeah, it's gearing. I mean, between all of the different types of gears that we make and all the decimal gears that we make and everything, there's not factoring in colors, I think we have 600 individual products basically.
Wow.
So when you count up everything, like cogs, all of the decimals, all of the different styles, there's 600 raw things basically. Now you factor in, I think we have 4 or 5 colors, you're talking 3,000 things that could be available. So that's why we keep a lot of stuff raw on the shelf. We do from time to time when we need to meet our minimum anodized batch, we'll take stock normal sizes, like usually like the regular like 0.0 size, 0.2 and 0.7, and we'll send stuff like that to anodize to put some on the shelf because we know those are definitely going to move right away.
Right.
But something that might be a little bit more obscure, we'll leave it raw on the shelf because people order all kinds of different stuff. So you never really know what's going to happen. And I don't want to sit with something for a few years because I decided to anodize it red or something,
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
People always wonder that because, especially in this day and age of Amazon, next day delivery, Prime, all this nonsense, people literally think like they place their orders and it's going out that day. And I'm like, no, it's not like that here. Like give us like 1 to 2 weeks and it's gonna go out. It really depends on like if we have it on the shelf, if where they're at in the anodized cycle. We go to anodize weekly, usually on Wednesday mornings, and we drop off, and then they've been really good lately, so they've been turning it around in a couple of days. So we pick up on Fridays and then we get a lot of the orders out. But if somebody places an order on a Wednesday, it's not going till the next Wednesday. So basically it's waiting about a week, just sitting there. If it's, obviously can't be shipped out. So
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But you'd be surprised. Like everybody thinks they're like, I didn't get a tracking number. Like, hey, because it hasn't shipped yet. Relax.
Right. It's not finished yet.
Yeah.
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 So what gear is your biggest, like 44, 43?
Biggest or biggest seller?
Biggest seller. I'm sorry. I didn't word that.
Biggest seller, probably, in that 43 decimal range. I think like everything in that 43 to like 44 decimal range, like 43.7, 43.8, 44, 44.2, stuff like that.
Okay.
That seems to be the most, some of the most popular stuff that we have.
Okay. So for folks that aren't familiar with the decimal part of the gearing, so that's something unique to Rennen. You guys do that.
Yeah, we are the creators of that. So back in 2010, before Facebook and all this stuff existed, there was Vintage BMX, which was I spent a lot of time on there, and it was it was awesome. And so basically there was a guy on there who had posed a question, and he had said, hey, can anybody figure this out for me? I have a 4416 and I'm rolling it out, and I have the exact same tire, but I have 2 different wheel sets. He had the same rim, same tire, same air pressure, but one wheel set had a normal cassette style freewheel.
Right.
The other one had a screw-on freewheel. And he said that when he rolled out the 2, one of them had provided 4 more inches of rollout in real measured rollout. And in one, I was always on there like answering people's tech questions and stuff like that. And this was before before I had Rennen, but this was before like decimal gearing was a thing. And I sat down and I like did all the math backwards. And I basically said, okay, the only thing that was different here is the cog. So then I put, basically a variable on the size of the cog, and I did all the math out, and I figured out that if it changed like 20 thousandths of an inch, it would be enough to produce that rollout difference.
Oh,
so
wow.
then I remember being on a plane. I sent the response, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense, cool," because like not everything's made the same, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. 244s from different manufacturers may or may not work exactly the same because there's variability that you could have and still have something work.
Right. Yeah.
So then I remember being on I was going to Chula Vista for one of the Supercross races, and I remember writing in my notebook, like, I remember like breaking it all down and thinking, well, if I could manipulate the size and get this change, can I do it on the front? And if I could do that, then this would be like a breakthrough, like a new product that a lot of people would be into, because, otherwise you're doing all these gear ratio changes front and rear, you're carrying extra chains, you're taking everything apart, and it just kind of revolutionized gear changing at that point. And I wrote down this whole plan. When I returned from Chula Vista, immediately like drew it all up, started cutting some prototypes. Within like the first hour, got it to work, and started at 0.2 for the tooth size, and then was able to work down to 0.7 in 0.1 increments. And then naturally I named it decimal gearing, because that's what we're doing. We're modifying things in a decimal fashion. And that was the day that the business went from like hobby to, even though I was full-time at that point, I had quit my full-time engineering job. Mm-hmm. That is the day that the business went from hobby to like real business. And, that was in September. I made some prototypes, had sent them out to Danny Kellogg at the time. I want to say either he was #1 elite at that point, or it was the year before that, but he was basically a top runner. Sure. And we were already sponsoring him. And he tested some stuff out, verified things. We sent them out to some other people. They verified. They're like, yeah, I can definitely feel this. And I remember I went to Reno that year, and I brought a bunch of stuff with me and did a podcast with Mike Carruth, talking about the release of this and saying it was going to be available in Reno. And everything I brought with me, I sold at Reno. Like I went home with empty boxes, and so it was a huge success.
Right.
And
yeah, that's awesome.
From that day, it was, we had dads just showing up, and they were like, yeah, give me everything in the 44 size range, or whatever it was, whatever they were looking for. And they literally came up and bought like 6 gears, and then just went home with, went back to their pit with them and started messing around. And then, what's kind of funny is that over the years, because this has been out now for a long time, yes. We've had a lot of validation of this over the years. I had someone on Vintage VMX message me, and he said, thank you for doing this, because now I don't have to buy. I don't even know who it is. I don't remember the name, but there was somebody who said that they used to buy 4 identical gears, and they would take a hand file and they would file down the tooth profiles all the way around.
Oh my
and
gosh.
They would do it by hand. So they would have all they were able to do is make the size smaller, because obviously they can't add material.
Right.
But they were doing this by hand with files and creating that, which is bonkers. Like, blows my mind that somebody was doing that.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, one of the things that I got into was buying some antique bike stuff. And there's a brand that around the turn of the century was in Ohio called it was Miami. I think it was Miami Cycle, but they had a model called the Race Cycle. And I was really into this brand and this company, and I actually have one. Because at the time my wife at the time was pregnant with my son, and we already knew we were going to name him Race. And so this was kind of all in line.
Yeah.
And this brand like did all kinds of really innovative stuff back in the turn of the century. Like, we talk about California gearing now, this and that. They were advertising California gearing back at the turn of the century and talking about how it reduced the force on the chain. I have pamphlets, like sales pamphlets from the company that I have in my house, and they go into like very, very technical descriptions about the forces on the chain and why their brand is better versus other brands. But basically, I started getting into like looking into antique bike stuff and purchasing a lot of stuff like books and things like that. There's a antique bike engineering book that is like a textbook almost from 1886. It's called Bicycles and Tricycles. And MIT had republished this in the 70s. And you can find it available. You could buy it like a reprint copy for like $30. So I had found this and I bought a reprint and I started going through this book, and it has all kinds of stuff in it. Really fascinating things that they were doing in the 1880s. And in the section where it describes chain and tooth behavior, it talks about what happens when your chain pitch is bigger than your sprocket pitch and when your sprocket pitch is bigger than your chain pitch, because that was something that they dealt with at the time, probably due to materials and like chains stretching and
well, they probably
manufacturing
hold the tolerancing you can nowadays and all that type of stuff.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. But they had studied this, and the interesting thing was there was a diagram that shows the roller touching the tooth, and as you follow it around the gear, the roller moves away from the tooth. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, that is decimal gearing.
Mm-hmm.
And because when you look at like a 0.2 decimal gear and you follow it, you'll see the roller engage on the top, and then as you follow it around the gear, it actually moves away from that engagement point. And that's due to the nature of how it works, because we're doing this pitch mismatch essentially. And I was surprised to see it. I mean, we had already had decimal gearing out, but
right.
This is a concept that other people didn't exploit, but they had studied. I exploited it by producing gearing that specifically you can change. They were looking at the effects of it and how it would affect performance, or how it would affect your manufacturing and whatnot. So
wow,
pretty interesting, over the years, finding things like that. Another funny story was talking to Billy Griggs one year at Grands, and he's super technical, loves all this tech stuff. He's always coming by. I only ever see him at Grands, really. And he told me a story once about when he was kind of taking care of the GT team, and Greg Romero was adamant in some meetings that they had that he had to use like specific gears, and he would not like deviate. He's like, this is what feels right on this bike. And Billy at the time was like, you're crazy, whatever. But then fast forward to the release of decimal gearing, and he came to talk to me about it. He's like, I think Greg had probably a gear that was made a certain way that made his rollout feel exactly the way that he wanted it. And that's what he wanted to, and it was in his dominant years when he was winning a lot. So it was pretty funny to hear that kind of stuff over the years, but it's cool.
That's wild. I mean, that's just, I get kind of into that stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But,
Yeah, you work for a gear manufacturer, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Like industrial, like automotive based?
Yeah, we make transmission parts for like heavy truck. So I know enough to get in trouble if I start talking about it. How's that?
It's family's business, right?
Yeah. It's actually a family-owned company. Yeah. So
have you tried to make your own decibel gear?
No. No.
keep it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I'll leave that to George. That's why I said I'm going to be getting a hold of him tomorrow. I need to order a couple of things. So
Get all the sprockets in 44, all sizes.
well, that's what I don't know if we want to get too geeky about that or not, but I guess that's what we're here for. So when you have the 0.2, 0.3 on, is that the spacing between the teeth? Or is it the
basically
point?
Yes,
Is
but what it really means is it is the diameter that the chain rides on the gear.
Okay, so it's the thickness of the tooth.
No.
Okay.
No, it's the diameter that the roller sits on the gear.
Okay, the
pitch circle, basically.
The root of the.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We manipulate that size, but in order to get bigger sizes, you would start getting interference. So we have to take a normal tooth profile and bring it in a little bit so that you can not have that interference anymore.
Okay, so your chain still rides smooth around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's and also like some chain brands, like, we discourage people from running KMC because we've just seen like 9 out of 10 problems. Somebody says like, "Oh, this is clicking, it's sticking, this and that." It's always ends up being like a KMC chain, and we just tell people just use a SRAM or Shimano chain and 9-speed and below, and you'll be fine. And it usually corrects the problem.
Really?
But
good to know.
Yeah, the KMCs are like all over the place. Like, a 9-speed chain is supposed to be able to have or accept a tooth that is 88 thousandths thick, and we've seen KMC chains that are measuring 82 thousandths on the inner plate dimension. So if we make gears that are 87 thousandths thickness and you try meshing it with a chain that's 82, it's going to bind, and you're going to have sticking and everything else. And I tell this story, it usually distracts people from getting KMC, but years ago.
Well, maybe they need to step their quality control game up a little bit.
Yeah. It was probably, so this kid has got to be, I think he's 20 years old now, so it has to be like 10 years ago. So if anyone knows Peter Choate, I think he changed his name to Peter Alonzo or something. But 10 years ago, his mom came up to the pit at Grand's, and she was like, "I just bought this decimal gear, nothing's working. What the hell? What's going on?" And I look at the bike, and they've got one of those KMC XL9 SLs. And I told her, I said, you don't want to hear this, but it's a chain. So go get a SRAM 9-speed chain, come back. I will mount it for you. I want to prove to you that it's not the gear, it's a chain. She's like, okay. So she goes and gets a SRAM 991, comes back, and I cut his chain off of his bike, and I count the links that he had that he was running on the bike. I cut the SRAM to exactly the same number of links. I hang the two chains with a spoke vertically. Mm-hmm. So, because I knew what I was going to see. I hang them vertically and I let them drop down. Now I had a SRAM chain and a KMC chain. The only difference is one was brand new, one was ridden by a 10-year-old. The KMC chain was a link and a half longer in length. Whoa. Which is why we had binding issues. So I proceeded to put the SRAM on there. Everything worked fine. Mm-hmm. And to me, like a 10-year-old kid should not be stretching out a chain that bad.
No.
And
I wouldn't think so.
So I tell that story all the time. I've been telling it for 10 years. I still see in Facebook comments when people ask for, what chains people should be running. Everyone's still saying KMC, X9 SL or whatever. So it's like on repeat, this story.
Okay.
So.
Do you have an opinion or kind of like a way you feel like on the half links? Those that go?
I don't like half links.
Okay.
It's just, like the purpose of a half link is to change. The technical purpose of a half link is to be able to place your wheel one half link closer, right? I feel like, the design of the chain, the fact that it has this like Z link, if you were to pull, you can't pull on the 2 and not produce a rotation. So when the chain is being pulled on, it's closing in on the plates. And maybe that's great for freestyle or street where you don't want to lose your chain and, stuff's like pinching the teeth. But that's why a lot of people that run half links, you'll see excessive tooth wear on their setup. So you see like massive fish hooking, So I'm not a fan of the half links. It's not really necessary. I mean, if you really, really, really want to run one, it is possible. It's difficult to find, but it is possible to find a single 9-speed half link. Or you could even you can kind of make your own if you take a normal half link and modify it a little bit. So you can insert one half link into a normal chain and get that distance change that you're looking for. But I'm not a fan of half links or basically I tell people we make gearing that relies on tight tolerance machining and everything has to be close in order for it to work right. We're finding too much variability with these other brands. Stick with a company or stick with these 2 companies that their mainstay is derailleurs and shifting. SRAM and Shimano exist because they make these group sets that shift gears all day long. KMC does not. And I know KMC does make chains for these other brands and stuff, and they obviously have something that works correctly. But the $20 chains that you're buying, it's probably not held to those same standards. So,
good to know. Never knew that. Especially since I just bought a KMC chain about a week ago.
But you return that shit. Ship
that.
that thing right back. Did you get a bro deal on that thing? Bro deal you got was it was a guaranteed piece of shit. Hey man, what plans? What you got any big plans for 2024 coming up? Any new products?
No, I had to slow down a little bit with the product front because I'm at a tipping point where I either need to hire someone else to take on the overload or just kind of stay where we're at and keep on meeting demand. So one of the big things I want to do in the shop is reorganize everything because when I built the shop almost 5 years ago, kind of just laid stuff out in my head the way I thought it would work correctly. And now I want to completely redo the whole inside of the shop for a better workflow. But it's a big endeavor because, I got to move multi-1,000-pound machines and rewire stuff, get them all set up again. So I got to pick the right time to do that and then just try to get it all done at once and make sure we have enough stock on the shelf, make sure we have all the stuff. So yeah, no, I haven't, I don't really have any plans for anything new right now. I feel like we're pretty tapped out. We had lost an employee, not in 2022, and I decided to not hire a replacement for that spot. Kind of promoted somebody to run the mill or the mill cell on the other side of this machine. And he's been doing phenomenal, and we've been getting more work done with less people. So, and also, don't really know what's going to happen with this economy and everything. And there's a lot of signs out there that we could be heading for a massive crash. Maybe we're getting out of it. So the last thing I want to do is, hire someone to help with new products or pushing a lot more or, and then all of a sudden, something happens and I got to let people go. That's the last thing I want to do. So I'd rather go slow versus kind of blasting out a bunch of stuff. So.
Yeah, makes sense. Sure.
Did you ever pick up that machine in the UP? So last time you were on, we were talking, and you
Oh
were.
yeah.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I had that machine for years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was the second machine I ever bought.
Okay.
That's actually one that's out of commission right now. It's in the 2-car garage in my house. But with this shop reorganization, we're gonna move everything around, and I had a buyer lined up for it, but that fell through because it's a machine that needs 3-phase power, and this guy was building a shop on his property like I did, but the town that he lives in was giving him a lot of problems on bringing in 3-phase. So the sale kind of backed out last minute, and we've had a couple of tire kickers here and there trying to lowball me on the machine, but I'm just, once I do the reorganize in the shop, we're going to open up a lot of space, and we're going to bring that machine back in and probably just set something up on it that always runs on that machine. And we'll run it every now and then, or run it daily depending on what's going on. So
do you have...
So right now we have 5 CNC machines in the shop, and that would make 6 if we bring that one back in here. So
Okay. Now, do you have, are the jobs dedicated to that machine, or are you changing them out all the time?
A lot of the stuff here is kind of dedicated. So we have a 3 mil work cell on the other side of this machine here, and that's just dedicated to gearing. Really, we don't do anything else over there. There's one machine that all it does is like the 95% of the machining of a gear, and then we have another machine that's dedicated just to cutting out the stock, like the scrap basically. And then we have a third machine that is ganging 6 gears and 6 cogs simultaneously, and that's for our really big orders. We just cut these big sheets and start feeding them in there and run stuff out like that. So
okay.
And one person runs those 3 machines on that side.
Cool.
So a lot of the stuff here is we're not job shoppy, so we don't. I hate like setting up like new things.
Yeah.
Everything we have is like palletized, so we have these airlock systems that just kind of snap into place. We're not probing or doing any of that kind of stuff. We're just,
Right.
the job's set up, everything's ready to go, and we can just snap them in and go for it. So,
Nice.
but a lot of the equipment that we do have is like the machines that we have are really like product specific or operation specific.
Okay. All right.
The one right here is dedicated. Like I bought that machine just to engrave gears. Essentially, it does some secondary operations on our cranks, but it mainly all we do in that machine is engrave for the most part.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Like it.
What was the new product you had this past year? Was it the stem that you had?
Yeah. So the first stem that we had come out with was that multi-piece one that is extremely light. It's only 40 grams, but that's only good for kids up to a certain weight range and kind of ability also, because if a kid's really jumping around and the ultralight stem, if a kid's jumping around and or riding a really tall rise bar, like that stem's probably not going to work for them. So the next stem that I took the last year designing and producing is called the tessellate stem. And that one is, it's a 1-inch steer tube. One of the unique things that we did with that, it's a really light stem, so it's the lightest in the market in its size class, aside from the ultralight. We start it at 30 millimeters, but we actually go all the way up to 60 in 2.5 millimeter increments. So as far as I know, nobody really goes above like 45 on a mini stem design, basically. But one of the things that we wanted to do was offer something like a 60, so that when you have a kid, like my kids, like they grow like 2 inches over the summer, and now you're struggling, like, do I buy them a new frame? Like, what do I do? Well, if I could get a little bit more reach, for $95, you can extend that frame out maybe another half a season or so. And then, it basically will solve that problem for you. So
Right.
But we make everything on that stem in house. It's custom screws, obviously all the machine components. The manufacturing of that one is also a little different. It can actually, we've set that up to run these palletized cells, and we can run it unattended. So I can run that overnight if I want, come in the morning, and there's 8 finished stems.
Oh, that's nice.
So, yeah. And the programming of it too, like it did a lot of work to, because sometimes, when we're cutting 8 stems, like you might not want 8 30-millimeter stems. Like I might want a 30, a 32, 2 35s, and the programming, we can literally just go in and select and say, all right, position 1 is this, and position 2 is going to be this. The next 3 are going to be one size. The next couple are going to be some different size, and everything's been working pretty seamlessly.
Nice.
So, but it took a long time to do. It was a different approach to programming than I have in the past. I bought a $100,000 machine to be able to pull off that, because the machine that you were talking about that was in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, was the one that was in the spot that the new machine is in that makes these stems now.
Okay.
And this new machine is like, it's got all the bells and whistles on it. I could basically do anything I really want on it, but it also during the day is the primary workhorse cutting gearing. So during the days, we don't have time to make stems. So what happens is we run everything we need like during the week. Then we'll do a deep clean of the machine when I know I'm going to run parts, maybe on the weekend or whatever. It'll get cleaned out fully. Then I'll set up the job with, I could do, like I said, 8 stems complete, top caps and all, and I could run that out over the weekend, or actually it'll just run overnight basically, and then in the morning if I go out there it's all ready to go. We just blow everything off and unbolt and then move positions and keep going with it. So
load up another 8 and let her go.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So,
we've
been focusing a lot here on trying to improve like efficiencies of things. That's why I want to change the shop layout. I had a engineering intern the last 2 summers, and he built this robotic gripper attachment that is on the inside of that machine, and it's actually going to facilitate us to be able to like load that machine with maybe 20 plates of gearing and just let it run, and that'll run a couple of hours and unattended. Like same idea where we're writing a simple script saying what gears are going to be made, because sometimes in that machine, if we have a stack of 50 plates, you're not making 50 of the same size. A lot of times we could be making 50 different sizes in that one stack, and we need the flexibility to be able to say like, all right, we're making this here, and we developed in-house an entire automation system that handles this. So nice. It's pretty powerful, but we're not fully implementing it yet. We're not at the point right now where I feel like the idea behind that was, we would get this automation system working, prove it out, and then during the days, like load it up so that it's running most of the day unattended, and then that operator has time to go do something else.
Right.
Well, we've been keeping up with a lot of stuff, so there's the need for that isn't there right now, so
yeah.
But we have had times here where we're a few thousand gears behind, and it's like the situation that we have now where all these orders came in at the same time, and then within a week or 2's time I'm going to be getting phone calls, hey, I placed that order, like why don't I have it yet? And I'm like, well, everybody else placed the order at the same time, you guys are all like colluding together or something. So
right, everybody went, oh geez, spring's coming, everybody's going to need new everything, right?
Yeah, I think that that's what happens like on the lead up to Grands. It's inevitably in like the end of September, everybody is like, oh shit, Grands is coming up, I got to get my orders in. So they'll place big orders, and we really busted a lot of ass this year to get everything done, and we delivered everything before Grands this year for everyone that needed something. And then Grands happens, it's a burn, and everyone's like trying to relax over the holidays, people going on vacation and everything, and then we're already back into the season and we're already like 3 races deep, and people are like, shit, I don't have anything when they're going to these races. So,
oh my gosh. Okay.
It's just, it is what it is.
So all right, here's my like advice.
Is this advice or is this what grinds Chris's gear?
No, it's just advice.
Okay.
All right. So Labor Day weekend, you need to call George and order your stuff for Grands. Labor Day weekend. Don't call him 5 days before Thanksgiving and think he's going to get you your stuff, because it is not going to happen.
Well, I physically tell all the vendors that are going to Grands. I literally call them up and I'm like, hey, it's August. Like, get your shit in if you want to get stuff there. Okay, I don't want to hear any crying if I can't deliver,
Yeah.
Oh.
And this year also, like, we had some wrenches thrown in the mix because one of the machines that we have that does the 6 gears and 6 cogs simultaneously, I think it was the beginning of November, we had a spindle bearing in that machine that seized up and failed.
Oh,
there was an oil line that developed a crack, and the oil was dripping outside of the bearing assembly, not going into the bearing. So, I mean, there's no checks in these old machines. It's just, it runs, and then when it fails, So I had to deal with that. And they wanted more money for like a replacement spindle than I think what I paid for the machine. And then there are a bunch of like
several $1,000s, like easily.
Oh, they wanted like for a new. I think they wanted like $10,000 for a new spindle. I think I bought that machine. I bought that machine, I think, for $10,000. So it was insane. And then like there are places around here that will rebuild them for you.
Yep.
And they wanted like $6,000, and they're like, oh, it's a deal, And I'm like, yeah, I get it. And then on top of that, they had like a 3-week turnaround, and I couldn't deal with the time.
No money.
There's time. Actually there's a company in Detroit I bought my bearings from, but I like looked around and I was just like, screw it, this is something I got to do myself. So I literally like ordered up all the parts, had it overnighted, and just ripped everything out, pressed all the bearings out, pressed everything back in, bolted it all back up again. Took me like 2 days, and I got everything back up and running, and everything's still working perfectly fine.
Nice.
And then I did it for like $1,000, not $10,000.
There you go.
Damn.
Damn. But
yeah. No, they get you with that.
Yeah,
stuff.
if this doesn't work out for me, I could be a Haas service tech all day long.
There you go.
There you go.
Is that what all your equipment is Haas?
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I prefer Haas. I have one Doosan, which is my lathe.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, it's probably going to kill some, traditional real machinists, but I probably should have bought. I wish the modern day Haas mill turn lathe that they have now was available when I bought this machine 5 years ago, because I would have bought that instead.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the Haas control is so nice. It's so easy to use. And the Doosan is like, a solar powered calculator. It's just sucks. So
does it run
it's like the worst control.
Is it
it's Fanic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Fanic.
Yep.
It's literally like this is like an engineering thing, but you guys are old enough to maybe know this, but have you ever heard of reverse Polish notation for a calculator?
I've heard the term.
It's real. It's a real thing. Yeah, there's like HP made these calculators that it used something called reverse Polish notation. So on a calculator, a normal calculator, if you want to do like 2 + 2, you literally hit 2 + 2 =, and it gives you the result. Reverse Polish notation, like those kind of calculators, you hit 2, enter, 2, enter, plus, enter, equals, enter, and then it will give you your result. And somehow this is faster if you're doing like a lot of hand calculations. It sounds like the dumbest thing in the world. I'm sure it does make sense. I never got used to that or ever had a calculator like that. But
here we go.
That's
we got
like
a little picture of it.
Like.
They're trying to explain.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
God, That's out of control.
Okay.
Hey, real quick, I want to take a moment here and do our BMX Rocks photography check-in in the chat. There's a lot of people saying hi over to you, and there's some questions kind of parking lot up here, so I want to make sure we get to them.
We probably got a little too techie.
No, man. Actually, the questions are chiming in along with what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
So we want to thank and welcome everyone in. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Melissa's off this evening, and this guy back here.
Where should I go?
He's not
what
gonna say
page should I go to look at questions?
You can go to All Things Facebook, and there's questions on there. I'll read them to you here in 1 second, though.
Yeah.
So I want to say thanks and hi to Sean Gifford for joining us, Rick Carter, Nick down, stick with Nick down at Cape Coral. I see you guys are going to get your track up and running again and open. Send me some spy shots of the track.
Yeah, we need to see those guys.
Fiending up here, man.
People don't know Cape Coral basically got wiped out. They rebuilt the track, and then it just rained for days, and there was nothing left. And now Nick Jones and his volunteers down there, they're rebuilding that whole thing. Speaking
of rain, our friend from Australia, Matthew Boshin, just he texted and said how he said he isn't going to be able to listen to the whole show because I got a cyclone coming in. Thanks for tuning in when you can. Drake Robinson answered the question, our chat question about your favorite indoor track with the Grands every year. That's his favorite track. Mo Collins, thanks for joining. He said Rock City Indoor, but Steel Wheels is a close second. I agree with that. And David Randall said we will be sending in our Bushido Racing Team order here in a few minutes. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but they got their order going in. Old School's checking in with us, and we got Brandon Dowler checking in too from Calvary BMX. They hung out with us this past weekend. Yep. Scott Sloan said, "Why are there no 0.5 gears?" Question mark. No half gears. I'm taking it. Nick Segwa says, "What's up, guys?" Robert Cardoza says, "Hello." Let me scroll down here, and I'll get you to some of the questions here. Was there ever an interest in this? Is from Scott Wire. He was asking about a rear decimal cog.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's possible, and but I feel like when you're making products and you're doing things like what we do, I do have some sort of responsibility to try to not fuck everybody up in the sport. And although I know that there are people out there that have wanted to make them, I have had many people tell me that they've had solicitations to get them made, all this kind of stuff. I personally feel that we could do it all day long. Like I could set up my machines and start making them right away. But as like a person introducing this kind of stuff, this tech into the sport, I do feel a responsibility that I don't want to be introducing something that is just going to totally confuse everybody. Right.
Good point.
So imagine the scenario where all of a sudden you're dealing with a 44.7 divided by a 15.9 and like the gear charts and like the craziness that, you know, new parents would have to go through, like navigating those waters. Like if you can't find a gear ratio that works with what we have currently available, nothing's going to work for you. You know, like at the end of the day, that's the way it works. So
makes sense.
So it's been personally just something that I don't want to do because I don't want to introduce something that's going to be worse, I think, for the general like BMX population. A friend of mine, Mike Von Sothen, who was making stuff for a short period of time, like he was telling me that people were contacting him asking specifically for him to make them. And you know, there's people out there with integrity and you know, stand-up people that don't want to copy things that others do, and that shit happens all the time. Drives me fucking nuts.
Like,
if you have to resort to that for your business, like just give up. Like, you don't have good ideas. That's how it goes. But Mike had told me that he's like, if I had $1 for every person that's asked me to make like a decimal cog, I'd be rich. And I'm like,
wow.
and he straight out refused people,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So, it's one of these things. We've been around for 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And, decimal gearing's very, very old, and a lot of our concept. I mean, it's hilarious because I see people doing things like threaded chain rings, right? We created threaded chain rings.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else did that before. And then all of a sudden we do it, and then other people think like it was done like in the 80s or 70s or something like that. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It didn't exist back then. We're the ones that brought that out. So, but some of the stuff is so old that people are so new,
right.
They have no idea.
Right.
No, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me.
The turnover in sports very high. So
good point there. I'll jump through these real fast for you, and then we'll jump back in here. Mike Miranda says hello. Nick Valencia says shout out to George, one of the good guys, and appreciate his knowledge and products. Martin Kennard, thanks for joining. He says decimal gears are great for dialing in, and they help me with my flat pedal spin. I want to keep going down here. Welcome in Brian Fell, and I think Derek Stanfill. He wanted to know if Tioga Faster RX cruiser tires are added to the gear calculator. And
so here's the thing. I don't monitor all new tire brands and like sizes and stuff, but if anybody has something that they want added, I can add it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
I just need verification. So if somebody wants to send a picture of a flexible tape measurement of the tire circumference, don't try measuring the diameter. That's not the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Get a flexible tape measure, put it around the tire, take a picture of the size, send it to me, tell me the brand, the size, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can add it to the calculator in about 2 minutes. So
perfect.
Anybody who
There
wants
you
something
go.
like that, just send me an email.
Thanks for joining us, Ed McKenzie. Mr. Hartland, thank you for joining. Dale Holmes wanted to let you know those are nice headphones. Got a lot of people commenting on the Polish topic here. Go Google it. It is wild. It's on one of the screens
it's
over
a real,
here.
It's
I'm
not
like,
a joke. It's a real thing.
It's not a joke. It's real. Yeah.
It's I have the explanation up over here. I shared that on the screen. I'm like, I just gotta turn that off. Hey, again, thanks you guys. If you guys got questions, put them in the chat. That way I'll pass them along. So appreciate you guys. And big thanks to BMX Rocks Photography for sponsoring our chat.
Yeah, go check them out. www.bmx-rox.com.
Where was Mo at this past weekend when we were all down?
I don't know. He should have come over to Raise and rode around with us, man.
Yeah. So we were talking about the decimal gears, some new products coming out. Is it all right if we shift gears? I want to talk about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So give me the hit. Like, how did this come about?
So, you guys know I'm a fan of F1. Been following it for a long time. I was perusing Facebook one day, and my co-host, Rich Pelton, was, I believe, at an IndyCar race or some sort of race event that was happening out in California. And he was taking pictures of it, and he was all pumped on it and stuff. So I had messaged him, and I was like, hey, are you into this kind of racing, like open wheel racing in F1? And he responded back, and he was like, yeah, man, I love it. I'm like super into it. Drive to Survive, the Netflix series. So him and I start texting about F1 racing like we're teenage girls. And it was like daily, him and I texting each other for probably a solid 8 to 10 months.
Oh, wow.
And it was really not about BMX at all, even though him and I both have companies. We're competitors. He's a gear manufacturer. I'm a gear manufacturer. He is one of my vendors. So, we play nicely together. He one day I had told him, I was like, hey, I have this idea. I want to do a podcast, and I want it to be with you. I want it to be broken up into 3 pieces. The beginning, we'll talk about BMX, like related news and stuff. The middle section, we'll talk about our businesses and like the shit that we go through on a daily basis and everything, like deep dive stuff. Like, you know, I talked about rebuilding the spindle on my machine. Like that was on one of the episodes where I talked about that.
Okay.
And then the last third of the podcast is all about F1, like anything currently going on, gossip news, race coverage. You know, we kind of try to handle it all off the top of our head. One take. It's just two buddies like chatting it up. The hardest thing about it is really just trying to get Rich to commit to recording episodes. So that's about it. So he thinks nobody listens to it, and you know all this stuff. It's hilarious, but
well,
yeah.
guys, get a chance, go check it out. It's r/t podcast. All right, so
Yep.
I really enjoy it.
Mhm.
I like well, I like all three segments, but
yeah, I do
your
too.
middle one, I love it. Like you can hear some really cool stories. Well, just what you talked about with the parts you had to order from Detroit and that you did.
Yeah.
But him, I forget which episode it was talking about the goof up with the number plates and him having to make the drive. There's some really cool stories you guys share on there.
Yeah.
And it's one I listen to on the drive in and from work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could do it more. We've got a ton of stuff that we could talk about.
Sure.
But, you know, it's one of these things we're also trying to, you know, he's a new dad. He just bought a house. We're running businesses. It's, you know, we're trying to give people the real breakdown. Like, you want to live the dream? This is what the dream looks like. So, you know.
Yeah, and you guys don't pull any punches either. Like, when you get into that segment of the show, it's the real deal.
I find it very interesting, you know, being my background and stuff, you know, what I do for a living. You know, when you get into that whole manufacturing side of it, that's like,
from the time of the idea of the podcast to when you first recorded, what was that timeline?
Oh, maybe a month or two. It just took convincing him. That's all it was. And like I did the first episode and then, we did the first episode and then I was hitting him up like the next week because I wanted it to be a weekly thing. And he was like, whoa, I don't have anything to talk about. Like, we already talked about everything. And I'm like, come on, like we could do this. And then I waited like another week. And then I think the second episode I might have recorded solo. And you know, just a topic I wanted to talk about. And then I'm like, it's not really what I want to do. I don't want to bring on guests. We're not doing like these other kinds of things. It's just really meant to be me and Rich talking about BMX business and F1. So I get what I get. You know, I get them about every 6 to 8 weeks. I get an episode, and we're due for another one. We've been trying to record for the last couple of weeks. It just hasn't worked out. Also schedules have to line up too. He's 3 hours behind, he's 3 hours behind and all that stuff. So we got a lot of times it's like, you know, he has to wait till like no one's really in the shop and it's 5 o'clock there. It's 8 o'clock here. You know, sometimes I'm like, I go to jiu-jitsu and like I go to jiu-jitsu and I come back and I take a shower and I run in here at 9 o'clock at night and I'm recording an episode till like 10 o'clock. So, but yeah, it works. I'm glad people like it. We've had a lot of positive feedback and stuff. So people seem to be into it.
Yeah. You guys did one, he was overseas for the Worlds, right? Or was it a World Cup? Wasn't he? Because you guys had a big time difference for one of the episodes. Because he was up. Like,
yeah. He took. He likes to take these European vacations every summer, and one of the times like we coordinated for it, and it was almost better because I think he didn't have like a ton of commitments out there. He was just like with his wife's family. So then he wanted to like break away a little bit and record an episode. So we talked about stuff and he had gone to I think he went to one of the World Cups out there. He always ties in like a BMX event to his overseas travel. So
you got, when you're putting the show kind of together, how do you guys decide on what you're going to talk about there for the middle segment?
Like 3 minutes before the episode airs, I shoot him a list. That's how it goes. Like it's literally like I send him like a little bulleted list on Facebook Messenger and I'm just like, these are the topics and we spitball it. It's just It's so free flowing. It's just he's a good talker. I can talk. We feed off that. Sure. The biggest problem we have is sometimes talking over each other. A lot of the beginning episodes, we didn't do video, and now we don't record video and put it out there because I don't think it's necessary. But we will have our phones and we can see each other, so we can like kind of signal when you know, I'll put up my hand like, hey, I want to talk now, you know, because sometimes he just like talks and talks and talks and talks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but it's good.
Well, you guys bring a side of the sport that really it's you guys are the only ones bringing it. So, you know, a lot of the interviews, you know, you've got hot topics where like the guys at Beer Budget does, and then you have the interview based podcasts that are out there. But like you guys are bringing this side that you got to have a company to know, and that's what makes it really interesting. I I said,
the industry stuff.
I look forward to hearing the new episodes. So we got to nudge that guy, your co-host, so you guys can get a new one recorded.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole intent behind it, so that people can see like what it takes, what we go through. I think people think that we're a lot bigger than both in both businesses, Rennen and Tangent. They think that we're a lot bigger than what we actually are. They think there's a lot more money in the sport than there actually is. And like, I love doing this. I could make more money just being an engineer for a company, but I have a lot of flexibility and freedom in my life, and this is the path I chose, and I want people to see like what it is that we're doing. But it's certainly not glamorous, you know. Like the other night we had a bad winter storm here, and it must have rained like 1.5 feet or something, and you know, we had a power outage. My sump pump went out in my basement, and I'm standing in 1 foot of water with rubber boots on, and I'm sending them pictures like, start a business, you know. They said it would be great, and I'm like brooming water towards like a makeshift sump pump and stuff. I'm just like, god damn it, like sometimes, and this is at like midnight, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's just how it goes though. If you want to be in this and you want to really, you know, have a business, trying to make stuff here in the United States, like it's definitely not easy, you know. It's not for the lighthearted.
No.
One of your episodes, Rich got talking about you park in the trailer here and that, and how like, because it could save this much just by not having the tow. I was like, and it hit me right then, like, holy shit, you know. And he got talking about like all the weight of all the products that's in it and this and that, you know. If I don't take it there, I can save this, and then I only got to drive that. And I'm like, yeah, that is a real example of like what it takes to run and be in the sport, right? We are both two totally different businesses, even though we're in BMX and we're doing like similar things, but his approach is way different than mine. Like he makes some of his stuff here, yes. You know, he also has to deal with like international manufacturing and importing that stuff, bringing it in. But then he has the whole shop aspect of it. You know, this traveling circus following USA BMX. And he loves to razz me about like, oh, you're going to come to one race this year? And I'm like, well, I don't really have a reason to go to a lot of races. Like I don't have the race team anymore. If I'm going to vend. There's not a lot of races in, you know, here in the Northeast. I literally went to 2 events last year. I went to our home national in Cape Cod, and then I went to Grands, and you know, that's what I did. But there's also, you know, and this is going to be on probably the next episode, but like, there's the issues with, you know, living that kind of business life. And, you know, I drove myself and just my 2 kids from Massachusetts to Tulsa in about 23 hours. It was the fastest I ever made it, straight through. Got there so early that I ended up getting like an extra night hotel because I didn't think I was going to get there that early, and I wanted to get a good night's sleep before setup. I wake up in the morning, go out to my truck with my kids, start it up, put it in reverse, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, oh God, please do not let this happen right now. And I like turn it off, turn it back on again, get it to engage. I back up, I start driving away, it pulls out of gear again. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
oh no,
I have a 2017 Silverado and I blew the transmission.
Oh wow.
Like day 1 of Tulsa. I'm like, sick. So then it's like calling a tow truck,
Yeah.
getting that, going to a Chevy dealer on Thanksgiving, like they don't want to respond about anything, like, you know, and then finding out like, yeah, you need a new transmission, $8,000 for that, this and that, all this stuff. And I'm just like, God damn it. Like, it almost like actually grands for me probably would have been smart if I just sat home financially.
Sure.
But like, I actually needed, I do need to go. I need to, you know, show face and talk to people, talk to customers, interact. But it's stuff like that that really wears on you, trying to do this sort of thing, you know. And they have stories like that too, you know. Rich was on one of the episodes talking about TJ. I think they blew like the turbo in it in like Colorado or something like that. And, you know, you're hauling this 40-foot trailer and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, you could definitely find better ways to like earn a living, but you're not going to get that experience of what we do and, you know, the place that we're at right now in the sport. So.
Well, the sport is special to a lot of people, and you know, if you want to be a part of it, that's part of it. You know, it's just
absolutely.
Yeah, it just really stinks when that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, it just, you know.
Yeah,
I just sit back and think like, man, I used to go to all these events, and Jesus Christ, like, how did I ever have any time to get anything done? And then you just like adjust your life around it, you know. But I do enjoy like not having to travel all the time right now. I mean, we get way more stuff done. Like, our productivity has gone like through the roof since I pretty much stopped running the Answer Rennen team. So
yeah, but that was a heck of a team though. When you had it,
absolutely.
That was a heck of a team. You had some big riders on there, you know, big names and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah,
that had to be a crazy
for sure
juggling act with that size, because we're not talking just here's your national, like, you had a big national team plus running the company. When did you sleep? And you had the kids and the family. Like, when did you sleep?
Yeah, well, I sleep better now for sure. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of these things. It was a goal I had. You know, I wanted to win that factory cup. It was just, it's what drove me the whole time. And we were ruthless. Like, I went after everybody and tried recruiting everyone, and got a lot of rejections. But we had, you know, the crew that stuck with us, the people that we put time into and everything, and they came through. You know, and we have 2 of those cups that you know, are very difficult to get. There hasn't been that many winners over the course of the history of the sport. You know, a lot of people are sucking up all of the cups, especially full tilt right now. So
right,
you miss that at all?
I do a little bit. Yeah. Every now and then I get like this, like, oh man, like I should come back and do it. Then I'm like, stop. Like, you know, you shouldn't.
No.
I do. I don't think I'm gonna throw shade out there. I don't think the team competition is super difficult right now. Like I feel like the year that I dropped doing it, kind of, you know, no one got competitive anymore. Nobody was doing things to be competitive. You know, it was kind of, you know, they were running on the talent that they had. And, you know, as, you know, cause like, even if you look at like the 2019 or 2018, first full tilt factory cup to now, like, that's a completely different team, and they're still, you know, dominating out there and winning and stuff. But that 2018 team, and I mean, they had Elise Willoughby on the roster because of this bullshit rule that USA BMX put out there that you could use like a world champion, you know? So Fritz.
Got it. Got to know all the little rules and all the ins and outs. And
oh yeah, I mean, that was my game. So I was like, you know, you had to do that. You had to like, you know, study the rules and know everything, and, you know, catch people when they're cheating and everything else. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Not saying that Full Tilt ever did. I'm not. I actually, you know, of all the years doing it, Jim Buchanan, I have a lot of respect for him, and I'm so glad that he finally, you know, was able to because he's been doing the team stuff forever, and he went and finally got that first team cup, but then never stopped losing it. He just keeps on winning that thing, and it's almost like for me it was a little bit of a relief, because obviously in 2018 we had won 16 and 17, and I had made plans already to end the team and after that 2018 Grands regardless, but had I won, that would have been hard. That would have been super hard to do, to like walk away from like 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So thankfully I lost, but
Yeah.
I feel like he might be in that situation right now where he just keeps on winning and winning and winning and winning and winning.
Yeah. Well, let's see how many more we can do.
It's an amazing accomplishment. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I've never been much in the team thing, but it looks very involved. So.
Yeah, it's a huge
at that
it's a huge
level.
babysitting. Yeah. And I mean, you're a travel agent, you're a team manager, you're a psychologist, you're an enforcer sometimes, there's just so much shit that goes down, and kind of amazing.
Yeah. Especially, you think too, you did all of that, and we're still running your business doing that too. That's I keep going back to that. That's wild. Like, you had so much going on.
But that was one of the big reasons why we did what we did, because I ran that team for, I think it was 7 seasons. And in the 7 years of having the team, I think I developed like 2 products maybe. We came out with the race light gear, and I think we came out with the It wheel. And I think that was it. Like, we didn't do anything else. And then 2018, I dropped the team, but in all of the summer of 2017, the summer of 2018, I was building the shop. The first year was like clearing the land, and then the second year was like literally I assembled the shop, and I hired contractors for like the concrete and stuff like that. But like every beam, every screw in this place, it was me and a buddy that put it all together. And I knew once I had the shop, I was buying more equipment. I had a big plan to buy a mill turn lathe, and that was going to enable me to make a lot of new products. And in 2019, I think I developed like 6 or 7 products in 1 year.
Wow.
So we came out with the ultralight bottom bracket, the ultralight stem, the adjustable cranks, I already mentioned the bottom bracket, chainring bolts, axle bolts, like all this different kind of stuff and all of that stuff is made on this mill turn lathe. And I would never be able to do that amount of development if I had to, travel to, I think we were going to like 25 races a year, 25 weekends a year, like having to deal with that. And sometimes like, sometimes there were events that I couldn't go to, and I tried to put it in the hands of, one of our parents. And this is a funny story. It relates to one of your fellow statesmen there. But so it was Reno one year. I don't really remember the year, but it might have been the first or second year we had Marquand Billingsley on the team, right?
Oh yeah.
We fly him out to Reno. I think it was the first time he ever was on an airplane. He was like petrified, right? But I didn't go to that race. And I had given responsibilities to Ben Crane, which is Brandon Crane's dad.
Okay.
And he was supposed to do the team sheets and everything. So Friday goes good. I don't think we did well, but like everything was normal. Saturday happens. And then Sunday, I'm watching racing and everything, and like I think it was Marquand like didn't make the main or whatever, crashed out. But we had like bare minimum people to like to get to score the team sheet. Afterwards, I'm talking to Ben on the phone, kind of getting the rundown. He's like, "Thank God what happened today happened." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We did shitty. We only had like 3 people make the main." He's like, "I forgot to turn in team sheet last night." So,
oh no,
like I was pretty much praying that Marquand or somebody wouldn't make the main. And I think Marquand was the fourth. I think Marquand was the oldest boy there, so he was the fourth one. Like, he had to make the main in order to get points, and like something happened, he crashed or whatever, and he didn't make the main. And Ben was so relieved. He told me, I was like, God damn it, man! Like, and that's the kind of shit. Like, I would fly to races because I didn't want to put that on people's conscience. You know, like maybe they make a mistake or whatever, and I made that mistake too. I remember in Rockford one year. It was the last time I officially raced at a national. I was racing cruiser, and I had made the main on Saturday. I got like fourth or fifth or something. I don't even remember. And then I was all like tired, turned in my team sheets, did whatever. I think we did okay. And then just went to, went to a restaurant, got food, went to the hotel. The next day, Sunday, I'm walking over to the moto board like we all do to go check out like moto counts and everything. And I look at A Pro, I see our A Pro Max Egdorf, and I don't know why, but in my mind I was like, fuck, I did not turn in the team sheet.
Oh no.
My van, I go in my backpack, I find the clipboard, the team sheet's there, like totally filled out, just not turned in. I took that clipboard and I smashed it into like 50 pieces. And I was so pissed that I did that. And then I sat there like, no, these are title contention years, like the very first year of the team, we went in and Intense had it was S Squared Answer, the first team that Jim Buchanan did under that umbrella. He was in number one. I was behind him like maybe 5 points, and Intense was behind us by like 1 point. So I had been in situations where coming into Grands, we're like just a few points down from the title. Now, if Rockford had turned into like this mega day and it's a 250 point score, and I just shit the bed because I forgot to turn it in because I was racing like an idiot, luckily that never happened. That never came down. That was the scenario, because it would tear me up to this day probably if I lost the title because I made some stupid mistake. If one of our riders like doesn't make the main, crashes, whatever, hey, it is what it is. It's racing. Shit happens. When people purposely don't try, or they like sit down and they need to get up to make like fourth to make it out of a quarter or something, then like that's when you get pissed at some of these guys riding and stuff. But that did happen, but nothing that ever like cost us the title. But yeah, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure and these people out there, I see comments on Facebook all the time like, oh, why do you want to be on a team? Or if you're on a team, like they shouldn't put any demands or any of this shit. Shut up. Like, you want to be on a fucking like factory team, like to win the title? Yeah, you got to go out there and perform. Yeah. If your kid is fragile and can't handle, being on a factory team where you're getting all of this stuff covered. Now, granted, I get it. There are a lot of teams out there that don't do anything, but in my day of doing it, we did cover a lot of stuff. If you were a team sheet player, if your name was on that sheet, you were getting a lot of stuff. And we invested a lot of money into a lot of people. So yeah, when your kid is in the semi and I could see it in their eyes that they're sitting down in a turn because they didn't get a good gate or whatever, like, yeah, they're going to get yelled at. Like, I'm sorry. That's just what's going to happen. If people don't like that, then, maybe factory team isn't for you. Go be the single, unsupported superstar with mommy and daddy, and you're going to be fine.
No, I don't think people realize that, that everybody's like, oh, I want to be sponsored. I want to be on a team. Well, and this gets into a whole thing of there's a difference between support and sponsor.
Man, I just want to ride my bike.
Right.
No, I just want to have enough time. I'm not worried about sponsors. I just want to have enough time. Yeah. No.
And that's fine. Like, there are people like that. Like, there are definitely people who want to do this for fun, and you want to do that. But there's also the people that want to do it to win a title.
For sure.
They want to win it. They
heck
want
yeah.
So
to go to get number one. Like,
when
you know, one of my employees is Sean Dupree. Like, he is the most miserable person if he didn't win. So,
when those years you were running and gunning for the titles, like an average of what that costs, if you're at liberty to say, let me put that caveat there, but like what was the average it cost to run that for the whole year?
yeah, I mean, if I had to think back, and I'm not saying that like I put this in or Answer put this in or any of the sponsors in particular, the overall cost of the program across a single year could vary anywhere from maybe 40 grand upwards of like 60 or 70. But we also did it on an extremely cheap basis.
Okay.
You know, like we pinched every single penny we possibly could. And like all race earnings were reinvested in. We won a lot. We had a very, very high win percentage. I think at one point I did the numbers. I think we won like a third of the races we ever entered. So, and when you're traveling to that many races a year and you're winning $550 per day, you know, all of that shit factors in.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, we did, and this is another thing like that people did not like that we did, that I'm sure there was like rumor mill stuff about our program or whatever, but like stamps, you know, like if you won a race and you got those stamps, we got them. And we would basically collect the stamps from all winnings all year long. And I actually worked with one of our vendors to basically like sell our package of stamps. They would make a little bit of money because I would give them a discount on it, but I would get cash to help run the team. But we're talking thousands of dollars of stamps, you know? So,
but the riders knew that.
But we did it with a lot
up.
of support from a lot of different people.
Yeah. Yeah. But the stamp thing, you said there was controversy.
Can you say that again? You broke up a little bit.
Yeah. The stamp thing, the riders knew that when they signed up to be on the team. Hey, this is a piece of what's happening here. So they can't complain about that. You signed up for it.
They can't complain, but they do.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I bet
but
they did.
you signed up for that.
I mean, shit.
Yeah, but you know,
You
it's kinda
signed up
tough.
for this.
Yeah, and I know what comes with it.
It's hard. It's a hard thing, you know. Like another thing that we did was like everybody on the team, 100% across the board. Everybody got like a complete bike, and Answer made a lot of the stuff to facilitate that.
Sure.
In the later years, in the beginning years, like they didn't make cranks, they didn't make hubs, stuff like that. But like everybody had gotten a cruiser and 20-inch if they raced both. If they didn't race both, then they got one bike. Some people throughout the year, you know, it depends on like, and this is the kind of thing they were expecting, like a new frame like mid-year because they want to change colors or something like that. And you know, when that kind of stuff happens, it's like, you know, can you just ride out what you have? But you know, when you have a hot shot kid who's winning all the time or whatever, you want to keep him happy because, you know, I can't tell you the amount of people that I tried to recruit, and I in one regard, I got turned down because I was told they had asked if they could run stealth hubs, and I said, I'm sorry, you can't. And at the time, we were either sponsored by Profile or Answer had their product. Answer had their rear hub, and I had to tell them like, we are sponsored by this company. We have to run this product. And they literally turned it down. And I know the team that this rider went to, they weren't getting stuff paid. They weren't getting entry fees paid. They weren't getting hotels paid. You know, it's just like mind-boggling decisions that some people make. But you know, it is what it is. Like it's definitely a tough thing. But then you have situations where, you know, you got kids who they just won they just won NAG 1, right? And this was what I was getting at about the bike parts, like something that we did that people may not have been like super, or like the rumor mill stuff may have thought that was kind of shitty or whatever. It was you know, all these kids were giving out like probably over 30 complete bikes, right? Everything on the bike, giving it out to them. At the end of the season, when the next year, if they continue on, they get a whole new bike, right? Well, that whole bike we would take back, and we would get that bike back.
Oh,
and
the
then
previous year's bike.
Sell it. The previous year's bike, we would get it back. We would sell it, and that the money that we made off that went right back into the team to help fund. The most expensive year, I think, was the very first year because we didn't have anything to work off of. But once the team got rolling and it was like steamrolling, now you got winnings coming in, year-end money, you have stamps, you have selling product, you have all this stuff like rolling in. You can keep a program going for, I mean, the last couple of years, there wasn't really a tremendous amount of money spent by sponsors. I'll say that. And I won't say exactly what it was, but if people heard it, they'd be shocked at how much was spent because it wasn't what you think it is.
Okay.
You know? So, but it's because of all these things that we were doing, you know? And then people hear that and they're like, oh, that sucks. You got to give the bike back at the end of the year. Yeah, but you get another one, you know, if you stay on.
Yeah.
If the person left altogether, then they got to keep their bike as like a going away or whatever. But there were situations where, you know, kids that we had, you know, riders that we had, they won NAG 1. And then you have this awkward conversation with the dad afterwards, and they're like, hey, every time before we were on your team that my son got NAG 1, like, we have his bike and we hang it up in the garage. And we have every single one. And this was a rider that I think he had like 7 NAG 1s over the course of his amateur career. And what am I supposed to do at that point? You know, like, it's like, do you want to keep this train going with this kid who's super awesome and gets you these wins that are important for the value of one bike, you know? But that hurts the program too. But that was somebody who accepted the terms, but wanted to modify them along the way, you know? So it's just stuff you got to deal with and, you know, take it in stride and just make it work, you know? But yeah, it's definitely not easy. Definitely do not, I do not miss the drama from it. That's for sure. But I miss the camaraderie. Like,
yeah, for sure.
There were so many good race weekends where the team won and we're all out celebrating and just like kind of against all odds too, because we came into it. I don't know if anybody really thought we were gonna be very good. And then right in year 1, we were title contenders, and we were title contenders every single year. You know, I wouldn't personally invest the time or do that effort if I wasn't chasing a title. So,
well, makes sense.
And it was you had a smaller roster compared to a lot of the other teams of the time that you were competing against too. So you really were bringing quality to the table and efficiency with the years you were dominating, which is a testament.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you were just not sponsoring everybody. Hey,
I mean, we did a lot of great stuff. I mean, you know, we had 4 national number 1 amateurs. First one was Alita Beeman. That was like a total shock and surprise. First year on the team, like that happened. Like that was just amazing. And then Sean DePreet ended up with a amateur cruiser title. And then we had in 1 year, we had Brandon Crane and Marshall, both amateur cruiser, amateur 20-inch. And I don't know if that's actually been repeated since. Like 2 people on the same team getting the cruiser and amateur boy. But yeah, I mean, it's just like,
that's wild.
So crazy to think back and all those. And then we have, you know, 2 Golden Crank team awards, and then the 2 factory titles. Yeah. I'm glad at least won a factory title. Like if I did that the whole time and then bowed out and not have it, that would suck.
Right.
Ryan Burke said big trailers don't win titles.
That's right. Yeah.
Thanks for joining, Ryan.
There's a famous picture of me holding the cup in front of my shitty 8-foot trailer that I'm sure people were making fun of us for, you know, but I don't care. It does not matter. You know, we had parents asking us. I was like a dick a lot of the times. It was kind of funny. We had some parents, they were like, hey, you know, I really want to I want to get like a pit jersey for myself. And I'm like, no. And they're like, what do you mean no? I'm like, that shit's gay. I don't want that. Like, we don't have pit jerseys for the parents. You're not on the team, your kid is. Deal with it. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or like we'd be at a race and they're like, oh, can we get some fans? And I'm like, no, we're not gonna get fans. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, just sit down and worry about racing. Just stop it.
Yeah.
You know, they always want it. Like, people are always wanting like the big couch setup, the big TVs, like a pool table. I'm like, man, get out of here. None of that shit. None of those people are winning. Stop it. Like, stop. Like, full stop. Like,
you know, that fancy Grand's pit setup.
yeah, and we always had like a small pit setup because like Answer has that whole block that they always book.
Right
But
on. Yeah.
the Answer Rennen section was only like a 20 by 20 area. It's pretty much what I get now for the most part that we would put everyone in. Everything else was like Answer, Claiborne, S squared, like support stuff. But yeah, we never overstepped our boundaries with trying to look bigger than what we were. I liked it. I liked going in there as like the underdog, the small guy. You know, we're gonna go in there and we had a couple of years where we were dominating pretty hard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The little guy was taking on the big dogs.
We're gonna wrap it up here in a few seconds. We want to let everyone know who's going to be on next week. When we come back from that, we'll toss it over to you to kind of close us out here. So coming up next week.
There we
let
go.
them know.
Run River BMX. We're going to have the track operator on. We're going to have John and Alyssa.
Alyssa and Josh are going to be on.
Jeez, I got I needed to switch my glasses. Yeah. Now everybody's going, yeah, that's an excuse. Yeah, it is. All right. So Josh and Alyssa, track operators from Run River BMX, are going to be on next week. We're going to find out about indoor BMX track. What goes on there?
I caught some of their live feed from their race. It's either Saturday or Sunday. I forget what day. Wow, they got quite the setup, man. Like, he's gonna ship over a video of like a fly. I think he's doing a flyover or something of the new rebuild and everything. But their live feed was solid.
Sweet.
Like, it was multiple or one moving camera, couple static cameras. Real nice job. They do even.
So they live stream all their races. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we're gonna find out all that stuff, what they got going on over there. They have an in-house print shop.
Really? Yeah. So they can make their own T-shirts. And
right there, man. You walk up and you want 4X or extra small. You pick the color. Boom. They make it right there.
That's
smart.
Yeah.
That is.
They've been on a couple. They were over on
they're on
Beer Budget the other
night. Yeah.
Real BMX Racing podcast show too, and Josh
they're hitting them all right now, aren't they?
They got a lot going on, and hopefully whatever they haven't got to, we can get it all buttoned up for them here. So it'll be a good time.
Hey,
it's an awesome facility.
Any
up there.
questions you want us to ask them next week? Shoot them into the chat here tonight, or Facebook message or whatever the show, and let us know if you will get any questions for those folks next week.
info@allthingsbmxshow.com.
Oh yeah, we have an email. That's right. Nobody sends stuff to.
No one does. All right, we'll toss it over to George for you. George, we'll give you here kind of shout outs, thanks, anything like that. Closing words here.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thank you to all of our customers and anyone listening to our podcast, the RT podcast. I promise we'll try to get an episode out soon. Rich, get your shit together. It was fun. I don't know if you guys have any other questions for me, or
we're good, man. And thank you for joining us. It's always
we'll have you back another time. We'll chat again.
For sure. It's always a good time. Really enjoy having you on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Great. Okay. So thank you, George. Thank you, everybody else who tuned in tonight. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It does help the show out. So please do that. And we'll see you all next Wednesday night when we talk to Rum River BMX. God bless you, everybody. Take care. Have a good night.